The last 3 updates have changed mining significantly. No longer can you dig along at Y11 happily hoovering up all of the diamonds, because those diamonds are now found in mangrove swamps, ancient cities, and enormous caves in much higher quantities. And that sounds a little confusing before we mention that iron is best found not by digging down, but by digging up. There's a lot of confusing things that have changed since Minecraft 1.19, and this is my 1.19 mining guide to help explain all of these ores and when, where, and how they all generate by actually showing you the best way to mine each and every one of them. It's going to be a wild ride, and I hope you're willing to join me because there is a lot of intricacies to each of these systems, but hopefully I can explain them in the way that you'll understand. If you enjoy this sort of guide, by the way, you can subscribe to the channel. It's a great way to not only see more of these videos, but also greater than 99% of house fires happen to be blue on. That sounds like a good deal to me. Anyway, speaking of good deals, let's talk about the ore generation, and let's just cut to the chase here. Here is the cheat sheet. Okay, well, let's cut to the I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to give you the cheat sheet right now. This is the Minecraft version that we made ourselves of something that Mojang themselves put out to explain where and when Minecraft ores generate. So if you look at this, you can see, for instance, the lower down you go, the more diamonds exist. The higher up you go, the more coal exists. And you can use these information points to work out when and where different ores spawn. The reason this video needs to exist rather than just this diagram is it doesn't take into account the different biomes, which have different amounts of various resources, and it doesn't take into account the weird world of pre-existing generation, which is why we took entire chunks, you can look at this by the way, it's crazy, and we tore them apart to show you what the ore generation underneath looks like, and then hopefully I can explain it in more depth, so we can explain why there are more diamonds in mangrove swamps. Despite that not being a necessarily directly intended effect, it is where you'll find the most diamonds. It'll also explain why some caves have less and some caves have more ore, and in general, there's a lot to know. But for the full rundown, let's start with coal ore. We're going to be talking about Bedrock unless specifically mentioned otherwise. You can read about Java if you'd like to. We put the signs there for those of you who are playing that particular edition. However, for every other version of Minecraft, if it just says Minecraft, you need to know that coal generates in 3 specific batches. And the reason this is relevant is because they're all looking roughly the same, but there is an overlap between these 3 separate spikes, as you can see right here, because one of these blobs generates between layer 136 and layer 320, if there is terrain there, not always the case. There'll be another blob, 20 attempts, so slightly fewer, to generate between 0 and 190, and then there'll be a third attempt to make an extra set of blobs between 128 and 256. This means that there is a huge skewing of coal ore towards the top, and therefore the best place to mine is 136, so mine at Y136, the second best being Y95. And it also means that because coal thins out so much around Y0, as you can see right here, it generates between 0 and 190. There is a very, very, very tiny chance of you ever getting deep slate coal, which means the actual rarest ore in the game is not diamonds, it's coal. I think that's a perfectly fun fact. Maybe you agree, or you might prefer we move on to copper, and although this generates differently on Java or Bedrock, the results are basically the same. I mean, if you look at the pyramids on this or the main graph, you'll see there are 2 layers where everything lines up just about perfectly. What are those layers? 47 or 48. Mine along at Y47, 48 using branch mining or any other technique that you like. As long as you're mining at these layers, you're most likely to find copper. Branch mining, by the way, or strip mining as it's often known, is the technique people used to use to find diamonds. It just means exposing the most blocks possible, and the reason this works is because you're digging along and you're exposing the most faces of blocks, and so your odds of finding a vein are significantly higher than if you, say, dug out an entire chunk like this would be. I mean, finding this many blocks is great, but if you mined 1 million blocks, you could find so many more if you strip mined instead. You can have any fun technique you want if you like, as long as you mine at Y47 or Y48, or if you just want to find, giant veins, you can do those as well, because if you find a vein of copper ore, you are in the money. This is one we found in this very same world, just below where we were before. Look how much copper ore that is over there. Seriously, look around this thing and see just how much copper there is. Obviously, it's linked together by granite, and if you found this in the real world, you'd have to do a lot of mining just to make sure you were still on the right track, but it's crazy just how much copper you can get your hands on, and it's not just copper ore, by the way. There are raw copper blocks mixed in there as well. It's incredible, and yeah, veins are obviously the best way. Whichever way you want to find them is the best idea, I guess. Speaking of the best idea, iron ore has gone through some serious changes in the last few updates, mostly 1.17 and 1.18, because when they added new mountains, they wanted a new way to encourage you to go there, and although you can read that the best layer for Java is 255 and the best layer for Bedrock is 232, in reality, terrain doesn't usually generate at those layers. Here's what 232 looks like in the normal biome. Wow, there's no iron ore here at all, because if you find any mountain in your world, mine as high up as you can humanly go. Realistically, if you need to find just a few bits of iron, you can find them everywhere in your world. As you can see, they're kind of mixed in almost as commonly as the coal. Here at just 100 blocks up, they get less and less common the further down you go. However, if you find a mountain, mine as high up as you get, because as you might spot the trend here that as we go further and further up, we get a higher and higher prevalence of iron. Mountains are the iron place to go now, and I love that because it means the mountain biome is the iron biome, if you want it to be at least. However, when you're mining up so high, you do have a pretty big downside that you're probably only going to find iron and coal. This is something that is fine for most people, with the occasional emerald, I guess, mixed in. However, if you want to get a bigger diversity of ores early on in the game, you might be better mining at the best layer for gold, because the best layer for gold, it's most commonly found between -64 and 32, making the perfect middle ground, -16. The best layer to find it is there, and because it has reduced air exposure, you might think that means you're basically required to strip mine it. However, reduced air exposure is really interesting. This applies to diamonds, this applies to gold, this applies to anything valuable you're looking for. Reduced air exposure means that finding these ores in caves is less common unless it's hidden behind a pile of gravel, or unless it generates in contact with water. Water is not air, there's not reduced water exposure, and so you'll find a lot more gold in these patches. You'll also find a lot more diamonds and a lot more of any ore you're looking for. However, something exclusive to the gold is look around a Badlands, a mesa biome for, real Minecraft players or OG Minecraft players. The Badlands is the best place to mine for gold, and you can do it anywhere in the entire biome. 32 to 256 is just great because you'll find all of the gold ore you'll ever want, and there's no reduced air exposure, so a mine shaft or a giant cave just means you can get stacks on stacks on stacks of gold. I did a recent ultra hardcore run, and having this much gold was amazing. I got 20 golden apples in my first 69 days, and just don't ask what happened after that point, and we'll be perfectly fine. Speaking of perfectly fine, emerald ore. You do not want to find emeralds by mining for the ore, but just in case you want the block specifically, or just in case you don't like the idea of giving villagers things to get money, then you can find it in one batch in every mountain biome. It's specific to this biome, not just because of the height, it's biome specific, and yeah, it's most commonly found at 256. While you're mining for iron and coal, you're going to find some emeralds, or if you're looking for emeralds, you're going to find so much iron and coal on the way. It's a pretty fun fact, but it's mostly useless because we all know the ore you're looking for. It's blue, it's enchanting, it really does get everyone interested in Minecraft. Lapis lazuli. Yeah, I tricked you, yeah. This is lapis lazuli is most commonly found about layer 0, which is pretty fun at that perfect deep slate layer. If you mine just above deep slate, you'll have a better time, however, because deep slate takes longer to mine than cobblestone. Fun fact, lapis lazuli, very useful, but you probably get enough of it from 2 or 3 mine blocks. That lapis chunk over there is probably enough to cover most of the enchanting you do, especially because people enchant these days by buying books of villagers. Speaking of buying books of villagers, you can't buy redstone ore from them, but you can buy redstone from the cleric. But if you didn't want to buy redstone, you could easily find it between -63 and and +15. This means the most common place is -63 because it gets heavier and heavier the lower down you go. And what's that? It generates at the exact same, like a layer difference as that other block to the right there. What is that? Light blue lapis lazuli? Okay, let's talk about diamonds, shall we? Diamond ore. It generates in 3 batches. Here are the rules for that, but the base rule is just the lower down you go, the more diamonds you'll find. However, this is only taking into account the average biome. Something interesting about Minecraft is diamonds are found in other ways than just the diamond ore generation, and that sounds weird and confusing, and like maybe I'm talking about shipwrecks, and yeah, you could look around shipwrecks and find diamonds. I've done it before, but you could also look around an ancient city. You could also look around an abandoned mineshaft. There is a whole host of underground structures which spawn with diamonds in, and while you're looking around any of these, or even just a cave, honestly, this big, you should be looking for the diamonds in the structure, because while you're looking for them, you might find diamonds as they're exposed. Sure, there is reduced air exposure for these things, but that doesn't mean no air exposure, by the way. You can still find diamonds around a super dark cave. It probably helps to have night vision or a set of torches, by the way. Look how much better this is. But looking around one of these caves and finding diamonds is great by itself, but also, even though there's reduced air exposure, look below something that's easy to mine, like gravel, or even like skulk. And what's that did we see earlier? Are there diamonds below this? Yes, there are. Wow, what's that? You can easily find diamonds by going into somewhere with easy blocks on the top, like the Deep Dark has. That's wonderful by itself, but you can also find more diamonds in below a mangrove swamp, which means below a mangrove swamp and in a Deep Dark biome would be really wonderful. Why is the mangrove swamp more prevalent for diamonds? It sounds like a made-up fact, and it takes a second to dig through, but consider the ancient fossils. These are something which were added brand new in 1.19. Instead of just having regular fossils, there were the deep down ones, the deep slate fossils, and these contain coal ore at a higher prevalence, but they also contain diamonds. If you find a fossil and it's below Y0, that is a ton of diamonds you can cash in on, and this makes a serious difference to your mining diamonds per hour. Even if you find one fossil every 10 hours, that's still bonus diamonds because you'll find all of the other diamonds you otherwise would have. If you're looking to maximize your diamond mining, that is the way you want to do it. However, as most people know, diamond ore isn't the #1 kid on the block anymore. What you want to do if you want to find the best stuff, you know, like my sword and like my pickaxe, which is definitely the best here, because I spared you the whole speech in the beginning about, did you know the best pickaxe in Minecraft is a diamond one, except the better pickaxe than the best pickaxe is a netherite one, except the better pickaxe than that is an enchanted netherite, and even better than enchanted netherite would be efficiency 5. But yeah, everyone knows the basic stuff. You can use a beacon to up your mining rate even more. We're just focusing today solely on where those ores are found, and this nether one is one I've been looking forward to, because in the nether, there's pretty consistent generation. It spawns, nether quartz spawns evenly between 10 and 117. The attempts are doubled in basalt deltas because of reduced netherrack, but it still means that wherever you are in the nether, just mine where there are blocks, you'll find nether quartz. There's no reduced air exposure, so really you just dig around anywhere, you'll find some nether quartz. Do you see that? Exposed nether quartz. I mean, it's exposed because we dug out all the blocks in this chunk, but exposed nether quartz, exposed nether quartz. What's that? Is that exposed nether gold ore? Wow, let's talk about that next. Will you believe this? Looking at the cheat sheet over here, what are you gonna see? By the way, this isn't one Mojang put out themselves, this is one we had to make. It really is this simple. Nether gold ore makes 10 attempts to generate between 10 and 117, and the attempts are doubled in basalt deltas, but it's cancelled out by the reduced netherrack. And so where do you find nether gold? Everywhere. Look around for exposed netherrack, and you might see some nether gold sticking out of it, like there, and like, man, this is such a weird biome to be in with night vision. Look at it slowly fading away. So now we're going to talk about the ore, the big daddy ore that owns, that really controls it all. By the way, I should mention, you should never want to dig for nether gold ore, because gold ore is so much more efficient, but if you're in the nether anyway, just know it's everywhere. There's no best technique. If you see it, mine it. Anyway, the next, that should go for every ore here, by the way. Speaking of every ore, the ancient debris generates in 2 batches, and so it means that there's a very even distribution, except for below Y22, where the most common block is at Y15. This means that if you want to find ancient debris, mine at Y15, because you might find the one that's randomly in every chunk, and you might also find the second one that's randomly between 8 and 22. To put that in other words, mine in a continuous straight line, turn left or right at an obstacle, and use beds, TNT, the wither, whatever it takes to mine it, and you'll get your hands on a lot of ancient debris, which means a lot of netherite, which is a very fun block to have. This is something that is very, very hard to get, even if you're mining at Y15. Look at the thinness of that tower compared to the other ones we've showed so far. You will be mining a long way, and that is why having a good pickaxe, that's why having something else to help you will be a really good idea, and in which case, I'll give you the bonus fact for this video, because I just love fun facts, and even though this is arguably unrelated, I want to mention that did you know you can put beacons in the nether? Because the beacons can go through bedrock, specifically because the ceiling in this biome is made from bedrock, unless you've removed that. But anyway, with that said, that is how you mine all of the blocks in Minecraft in the most effective way. The weird counterintuitive facts are that you want to make sure you're in a mangrove swamp for optimal efficiency of diamonds. The other weird facts are that mountains are the best place to find coal and iron if you're a late game player, whereas early games players are best to find it underground below that. And every other ore, if you just dig down kind of low, you'll find a ton of it. But ultimately, Minecraft is a game that has evolved past the days. If you're getting back into Minecraft for the first time in a few years, you need to know that mining is not the only way to do everything in the game now. There is trading as an entire tech tree. You can trade for almost every single one of the ores that exist and the value valuable things they give you. You see this netherite pickaxe? I got it as a diamond pickaxe, and then I put some, I put some netherite ingot on it, and wow, I've now got a pickaxe without ever having mined diamonds myself. This is just a fake diamond pickaxe. Where did this come from? This means that ultimately, in Minecraft, the only thing that truly requires mining is the ancient debris, and even that is relatively simple. Mine at Y15, and you'll get as much of it as you put in the time to get. That is something that's wonderful, and if you are someone, by the way, who appreciates these facts of like, oh yeah, Minecraft has changed recently, because, 1.17 gave us copper ore, 1.18 gave us double height terrain above the world and below it, and also 1.19 gave us new biomes which changed out how you do stuff. If you want to learn the latest about new updates, as well as maybe things that have changed since you last got into the game, I'd consider subscribing to the channel, because I got a great video about things that have changed since you last played that you should check out. And yeah, I'm just self-promoting here because I'd really like it if you watch more of my videos, but it's okay if you don't, because I hope you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. I don't know why I thought that would save me.